Welcome back everyone to the Hello World Guy, and this is episode number 2 of the Flappy Bird series. And in here, if I just show you what we had in the last video, you can see that we have selected this portrait resolution that we created custom. And in here, in our game scene, what I can do is I can jump, and you can see that the pipes start coming, and I can keep doing this, and they keep coming, and yeah, that's kind of just what we have right now. Now, in this video, we are going to implement a little bit more of the, we are basically going to finish our game mechanics so that in the next video we can start to add, some of the other stuff like animations and graphics for our game, because currently our game doesn't look that good. So, to get started, what I want to do first of all in today's video is this. Before I do that, though, just let me change the color of this player to something like yellow. I just kind of feel like it, I guess. uh Yellow. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Anyways, but the first thing that I want is that, as you just saw, if I keep playing the game, then the pipes keep coming and they kind of just keep going to the left until the player dies, and that is really not what we want, because the pipes are kind of spawning endlessly and they're not being destroyed ever, which means that the pipes will just these pipes will never actually they get destroyed, which means that they will keep up occupying the memory, which means that our game will eventually crash. So we don't want that. So in order to fix this, what we can do is we can make the pipes disappear automatically after a short period of time. Now doing this is actually really simple. Just go under script folder and open up the pipe script. Alright, in here what I'm going to do is add in a serialized field here called private float. Just call it something like lifetime, and this is, I'm just going to set it to be by default 3 seconds. If I go under player, you can see that we are spawning after every 1.5 seconds, so it might make this sense to just destroy it after 2 seconds. Alright, that's pretty nice. So what we're going to do here is of course go ahead in the, if I'm in the update method right now. So what I can do here is I can we can use some time mechanics to check. We can just use these mechanics here, or you can use a coroutine, up to you, but I'm going to use this way. So we are going to have a private float time here, and uh, okay, and in here we are going to check if time is greater than or equal to the lifetime. Then what we are going to do is that we are going to say just say destroy game object, and we are going to, each frame we are going to say time plus equal time dot delta time. All right, so this should actually work. So if I go to Unity now and let it compile, what you should see is that the pipes do no longer continuously just go left and never stop and kind of occupy the memory unnecessarily, but they will actually get destroyed after a specific amount of time. So if I just let it compile, it's taking a little bit of time right now. Alright, so once it has compiled, just hit the play button, and what you should see is that okay, I am going, and the first pipe appears, and okay, that was not something that we wanted. 2 seconds is a bit too less. Just select the pipe script here, not script, the prefab, and just try prefab here. Instead of 2 seconds, I think it makes a lot more sense to have something like 5, or that's 4.5 seconds, because 1.5 seconds is 2 seconds will be too less. So something like 4, even 4 would work, but let's just do 4.5 for now. And you can see they appear, and yeah, that's coming. Okay, and you can see that the pipes are not exceeding 3 at a time, which makes a lot sense. So if I actually turn off this portrait mode and make it just free aspect, you can see kind of around the player, and what you should be able to see is that I think the lifetime 4 is a bit too much. Let's just change 4.5 is a bit too much. Just change it to 3.5. Okay, and then hit play, and now what you should see is that as soon as the first pipe spawns here, and you can see it's coming, and after a little while it gets destroyed at almost the exact time. It's a bit early though, so I'm just going to keep this at 4. Actually, let's keep it at 4.5, but yeah, you can see that the idea is working. Alright, with this done, the next thing that I want to implement is well, you can see that that this is working. Our pipes are spawning correctly, but they have got like they are at the same level vertically, which is really not that challenging. So we want the pipe to have, variable height. Some pipes will be higher and some will be lower. That would make our game challenging. So yeah, how can we implement that? So in order to do that, if I just drag one pipe in here and make sure that it's set to 0 on the x and 0 on the y, you can see that this is what it looks like. It's kind of colliding with the camera bounce, and that's all nice. And if I move it on the y, sorry, move it on the y, you can see that I can actually move it to something like negative 1.6 until because if I move it too much, then the lower part will disappear. Do not want that. But I can actually move it to something like negative 1.5, and I can also move it to something like positive 1.5. That should be totally fine. So we have got a range, and we can basically move our pipe within that range. So if I just delete and oh, not the prefab, delete this game object here. Now we can actually add that randomness. So in order to do that, open up the pipe script, and what I'm going to do here is say serialize field. Okay, we are going to add a range here. If I actually add in a, okay, so how do you do that actually? uh, Serialized field, okay, range, and the range is going to be between 1.5 and actually let's don't do that. I was thinking about adding a range here, but no. We are going to just add in a private float here called max y variation, which by default is going to be the value that we just came up with, 1.5. We can set it later in the inspector to whatever we like. And then we are going to, what we are going to do here is add in add a start method here. What we can do here is we can say max y variation, you can see, is 1.5. So I can say random we can create a private, we can create a float here called y is equal to random dot range, random dot range. Random range is depreciated, so range and mean inclusive, and the max value is also going to be inclusive here. So for this we are going to say negative max y variation, and we are going to say max y variation here. Okay, that's really nice. We have got a y value here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to just say vector3 position is equal to transform dot position, position dot y is equal to y, and transform dot position is equal to this position variable, because you cannot modify the values of that variable directly. So this should actually work. We should actually get a nice thing here. So you can see this, if I selected this as 1.5, and now what you should see is that we get some random y offset, and the game is a lot more challenging. And as you can see, yeah, now we have got a y offset, and sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, and that's all really nice. Oh, okay, so the game is all good, and yeah, that's another feature implemented. Alright, so now we need to implement a proper death system, and the point is that for now, when the game is over, the pipes do not stop moving, which makes it seem like the player is still going forward, which doesn't really make any sense. So yeah, we need to stop that. And also, when I actually hit the pipe, you can see that if I hit the pipe, then kind of the player moves towards forward, even though that shouldn't happen, because it's supposed to appear to the player that you can see that, okay, that didn't work, but well, you can see that the player is it appears that the player is moving, but even though it's not, and we do not want the player to actually move, or that will cause problem. So in order to fix that, just select the player, go under rigid body 2D, go under constraints, and make sure that the position is freezed on the x-axis. Only the player can only move vertically now. Alright, this should work. So what we want now is a proper death system, and the first thing that we want is that the pipe to stop moving, to give the impression that the player has stopped moving, because the actual game, the player that is playing the game does not know that this is like okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, the reason that happened, I will just explain that in a while. But the point is that yeah, that the user does not know that the player is not moving, so we want it to appear that the player actually stops moving when he dies. So in order to do that, that's very simple. What I'm going to do is go under player, and in here when we do this, before we just destroy everything and everything, we are going to do one thing. Before destroying, we are going to say we are going to run a for loop for each loop. So go for each, just going to say var, or maybe pipe in in game object in find objects of type, okay, find objects of type, and make sure that you use the template method, and just say pipe. So this should find all of the objects in the scene that have this type. And for each of the pipe, what we can do, we can say pipe, we can say pipe dot yeah, enabled is equal to false, or we can just say destroy this pipe variable, destroy pipe, not game object, just pipe, so that it only destroys the script, not the actual game object. This will destroy the script, remove the pipe script. So that should actually stop everything from happening. That should stop the pipes from moving and everything, and it should also prevent them from being destroyed ever. So if I hit play now, what you should see is that everything works. So if I let it go, okay, everything is working, and I collide and everything stops. That's really nice. And the pipes will not destroy, and you can see they haven't even got the pipe component on them. So this is really all working. With that, then now we can start adding a actual game over screen. So yeah, that's going to be really simple. Just go to game view, right click, add in a UI canvas. Alright, and this is going to be just a canvas, and I'm going to right click here, add in a UI, we want to add a text. We want to first add an image background. This is going to be black, completely black, but not completely transparent, 70. And then we are going to make it be stretched. Okay, that's really nice. And but I'm going to just rename this to background, because we don't want the player to be completely visible. Anyways, I'm going to right click here, go under not to the object, go under UI, add in a text here, text mesh pro, import the tmp essentials, because that's the first time we are using it in our project. Doesn't really take much time, and yeah, that's all good. So now make sure that it is centered but stretched, and make sure that it is center aligned as well. Actually, you might want to make it to the top, but no, I'm going to make it to the center and decrease its position to something like 120. Then I'm going to you can turn on auto size if you want, and then you can increase the height of this, okay, to something like 60. And then I'm going to change its text to something like oh, by the way, just make sure that the max is not low, so that we don't get any problem. And if for the actual text, we are going to say game over on separate lines, because that makes a bit more sense. Then just make sure that the height is big enough to allow it to all to appear. Just 200 is enough for me. And what I'm going to do is make it bold and underlined, and then just change its color to red. All right, with that, then I'm going to also just change it to game over text. Just name your variable so that it's a bit easier to find later. And in here I'm going to create an empty object, not an empty object. In here I'm going to add in a button to replay the game. So for this, go under UI, and I'm going to just add in a button, text mesh pro, saying restart. We are also going to add another button for menu, going to the main menu. Alright, for the restart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this button, make sure that it is centered, okay, move it down on the X a little bit, then change its text to be something like restart, and then I'm going to make sure that this is auto sized, okay, and then it has got like a little bit of padding everywhere. Then select the restart button and increase its height a bit, something like that. Looks a lot more sensible. Okay, 60 height is too much, 50 is enough, just right. Alright, so for the menu I'm going to do the same, 50 for the height. Okay, I'm going to decrease its position on the Y to something like that, negative 140. Okay, I just like to have precise values here. You can do whatever you like, and make sure it's auto size, no max. And yeah, just rename the text to something like menu. Okay, And for the restart, we are going to use the same way that we did before. We are going to add a special object to handle it, even though you could technically add the component to the canvas. And I think we might actually do that, but we are going to do whatever we did before, which is create an empty object here called UI events. Then go under scripts, right click, create a new C# script here, UI events, and in here we will contain all of our UI events for menu, everything else, and we can just use it whenever we want. So just let it compile, reload the script assemblies, and once it does that, just add the script to the UI events. Alright, then double click to open it up in Visual Studio. In here we are going to start by adding a public void called restart. What it will do is that it will say scene manager. Okay, using unit, so first of all remove these and add using unity engine dot scene management. In here we will say scene manager dot dot load scene manager, and we will use the get current scene function here, get active scene, not current scene, and dot build index to get it build index. And that will allow us to our scene manager to load the current scene again, which will essentially make the game restart. And now we can use this public method inside of our canvas. So what I can do is select not the canvas, the button, the restart button, add a on click listener, UI events, and for the function go under UI events and select this restart function that we just had. Now of course this canvas is currently I'm going to rename this to our game over canvas, because we don't want it to be displayed all the time, and just turn it off. Alright, so now we need to program the behavior to actually display it when the game is over. For this, open up the player script, and in here what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add in a separate header for this, and this is going to be UI, and just add a space before the header, space after this. And in here what I'm going to do is add a serialized field here. It is going to be a private pipe, not pipe, a private the canvas. You can just make it a game object saying game over canvas. Okay, now what should happen is that if I just copy this name, if I go under here where we are destroying everything, I'm going to say game over pipe, game over canvas dot set active for game over canvas dot set active true, actually, because it would be false before. And what I'm going to do is also copy this, and in the start method, if we have got one, we haven't, I'm just going to add a start method here. We are going to make sure that this is set to be false. Alright, that actually should work pretty nice. So if I just let it compile and just wait for a little while it's compiling, and then go here and I can select my player. Here we have got our game object, game over canvas here, and I'm going to just drag this in here. And now if I hit play, what you should see is that everything starts to work. So and you can see nothing is being displayed, and if I do this, then boom, we have got this. We've got menu here, restart here, you can choose whatever you like. Menu doesn't do anything, restarts the game. So yeah, this is working. We have got a working game over screen as well. And I think that this is pretty much it for this video, because it's getting quite long, and now we have got most of our mechanics completely implemented. In the next video we are going to add in some animations and some sprites to our game, and then we can also add in a score tracker, and then we can in the fourth part, or maybe it will get to the fifth, we will finalize our game, build it for mobile, and do everything. So yeah, this is all nice, and I will see you in the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also check out my other devlogs channel, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.